In this video, I will show you every player that you need to succeed for the triple header Saturday slate of games on FanDuel in under 5 minutes. My name's Quick Pick Nick, and having simulated over 650,000 unique lineups, here are your locks and lotteries for December 26, 2020. If you like this kind of fast-paced, calculated content, subscribe and stay tuned for more lineups throughout the season, including a DraftKings Showdown video for tomorrow night's Sunday Night Football. To start off this lineup with our first lock, we'll be locking in a quarterback who probably gets the senior citizen discount at movie theaters, Tom Brady. In this slate, there are really only two top-tier options who would be able to safely get you those 20-plus points you would expect from a quarterback, and they are Brady himself and Kyler Murray. The rest of the options are either unreliable, unproven, or just risky, which is why I'll be taking the safe play here, but not for that much more money. The reason we took Brady over Murray is mainly because of their matchups, since San Francisco's 4th ranked defense and allowed pass yards per game will prove a much steeper challenge for Murray than Detroit's 27th ranked defense and allowed pass yards per game for Brady. Additionally, it will likely be more difficult for Murray to find those points from his own rush yards, as the 49ers rank 7th in allowed rush yards per game and 6th in allowed rushing touchdowns per game, limiting that upside for Murray's game and further showing why Brady really is your best bet for this slate. Moving on to our next two locks, my model locked in both of our running backs as my model selected Josh Jacobs and Leonard Fournette. Although he is the most expensive running back on FanDuel, Jacobs is still well worth his cost as he faces Miami's 19th ranked defense and rush yards allowed per game, a much kinder front compared to their turnover heavy secondary. Coming off a nearly 19-point performance with 26 carries against the Chargers, the Raiders will need to rely heavily on Jacobs once more today with either a banged up Derek Carr or the inconsistent passer of Marcus Mariota under center. Fournette is a great pick because without Ronald Jones in the game, Fournette assumes nearly all rushing capabilities for the Buccaneers. When Fournette stepped up into this role last week against Atlanta, Fournette managed 20 points, including 2 touchdowns. And against the Lions' 29th ranked defense in rush yards allowed per game, we should be able to expect similar numbers today. The fourth and final lock of this lineup will be our tight end, as my model chose TJ Hockenson. Not taking Darren Waller or George Kittle might come back to bite us, considering Waller managed 25.5 fantasy points last week and George Kittle is, well, George Kittle. But Waller has been somewhat inconsistent, as he's had as many games below 6 points as he has above 25 points over the past 6 weeks, and Kittle will likely be on a snap count today and might face limitations. But again, either of these guys always has the potential to pop off, so if you do think it's a missed opportunity, you could take him at flex for a double tight end build, but I still think Hockenson is a must-have, and here's why. Aside from last week when Hockenson inexplicably fell short against the Titans, Hockenson was pretty consistent as he hadn't fallen below 10 fantasy points per game for the 3 contests before that point. Tampa Bay's rush defense, ranking as the best in the league in allowed rush yards per game, is much more intimidating than their 25th ranked secondary with respect to pass yards allowed per game, so we should be able to expect Detroit to play aerially through much of this contest with or without Stafford. And with Hockenson averaging 6.5 targets per game this season, Hockenson should be one of the key ingredients to the Lions offense today. Starting off the lottery section, the first wide receiver my model chose is DeAndre Hopkins, who is surprisingly cheap on FanDuel considering his huge potential. Hopkins did have a bit of a drop off a few weeks ago, averaging less than 11 fantasy points in weeks 9 through 12, but D-Hop seems to be all the way back, averaging 19.6 fantasy points per game over the past 3 weeks, alongside at least 11 targets in each game. And for only $8,700 on FanDuel, this is probably the cheapest you'll see Hop King for the rest of the season, so take advantage while you can. For the second lottery wide receiver, my model recommends Kendrick Bourne, as with Deebo Samuel ruled out for today's contest, Bourne will assume the wide receiver 2 spot on the team alongside Brandon Ayuk. And coming fresh off an 86-yard performance, including a touchdown, Bourne should be in store for more reps as the 49ers' second option in the passing game. For the final 3 picks, there were a couple of interesting combinations I wanted to share, the first of which included Chris Godwin, Nelson Agholor, and the Buccaneers defense. In all top-ranked lineups in my simulations, every one included either Godwin, Mike Evans, or both in some cases, given that favorable Detroit matchup. Godwin has had a rough couple of weeks, only managing 8 targets during that span in total, but against the Lions, Godwin might only need a few targets to make something happen and score enough points to warrant his selection, like he did last week with nearly 12 points on just 4 receptions. The Buccaneers are the defense because not only are they worth their price point, they are my favorite defense in this slate straight up, regardless of price, and for $600 cheaper than the top option on FanDuel, you're getting a pretty good deal, allowing us to take Agholor at $5,800, and while he still faces that stout Dolphins red zone defense, Agholor should still be able to get the job done across the field, as Miami has allowed the 18th most pass yards per game. If you aren't sold on either of those receivers though, you could downgrade the defense to the Raiders, who don't have the best projection, but should still manage at least a few points, saving us the $800 we need to either upgrade Godwin to Evans or Agholor to Antonio Brown, who is beginning to break out in Tampa Bay with his massive touchdown last week and prime matchup this week in Detroit. That's what my model was able to come up with for the 3 games today on FanDuel this Saturday, December 26th. This has been Quick Pick Nick, the intersection for sports, data analysis, and speed. Thanks for watching.